Okay, there's another theory which treats faith and religion as non-overlapping magisteria. That is saying that faith and religion, they just cover two different separate realms. They're non-overlapping. You know, religion talks about the meaning of things, and faith is just, science is just dealing with the physical aspect of the universe. Pope John Paul II said, you know, there's something to this. You know, they are distinct. Science and religion are distinct. You know, religion is talking more about the meaning of things. It's connecting us with things we can't test empirically. But you can't really say that they're not relating or that they don't overlap, because all truth is related, right? All truth is from God, and all truth expresses God. So John Paul II's vision was that, you know, science and religion should come together to form a greater unified vision, right? Kind of, again, like the blind man and the elephant. You can see the danger of separating science and faith too much, when you would just see technology without ethics, right? If people are just saying, well, we're just doing science here, and not asking, well, why are we doing this science? Is this actually good for people? Should we do this? You know, all these questions that we have with medical ethics, bioethics, all the different scientific ethical fields, kind of show that, you know, we can't separate these things too much, right? Everything within the scientific world, how we learn about the objective nature of the universe, so to speak, this is also going to have to do with the religious world, how we experience the subjective nature of the universe. So what does the Catholic Church teach about Darwin's theory of evolution? Well, way back in 1950, Pius XII said it's okay to believe in physical evolution, but he was weary about people interpreting evolution of the soul. He wanted to make sure that people understood, hey, you know, the soul is created immediately by God. In 1985, John Paul II said that if you understand creation in the right way, then it doesn't contradict with the theory of evolution if you understand that in the right way, right? So this is gave legitimacy in a certain sense, or, you know, it's not like it was a new idea, but this was a statement of the possibility of theistic evolution, right? That you could believe in evolution and believe in God, right? You simply believe that God is working through evolution. That is well in keeping with the Christian tradition, right? Pope Francis made a good point a few years ago. He said evolution in nature is not inconsistent with the notion of creation, because evolution requires the creation of beings that evolve, right? So in other words, evolution is a way that God creates, right? It's a way that he took us from dirt, so to speak, as the imagery of the Genesis stories tell us. Okay, now Abel poses some questions to evolutionists, right, or evolutionism, and we're talking here about an evolutionary theory that denies the existence of God, like an evolutionary rationalism or an evolutionary materialism. There are some questions it hasn't answered. Now, please don't get excited. Don't go overboard here and say, oh, well, evolution can't show us how life came to be, therefore God must have created it. Again, no, not necessarily. Of course, you know, we see God working in and through creation if we have faith, right, based on our own experience and the experiences of others. But it's not proof in the contemporary scientific sense. All right, so you have to be careful about that God of the gaps thing. If you say, well, if science doesn't know what it is, then it must be God. Well, again, not really. That's not actually true. There could be different explanations for it. And number two, just because science doesn't understand it yet, right, doesn't mean that it won't later. Okay. So some of the things that evolutionism hasn't explained yet: the origins of life, how we got from non-living material to living things. Also, he doesn't specifically mention this, but I'll throw it in here: the jump from single-cellular organisms to multicellular organisms. It's not that science can't explain it; it's just so random that it doesn't seem likely, according to scientific theory. It was a very unlikely event, so to speak. Again, doesn't prove God did it, but it does make you question, the science, or question, let's say, the majesty of science or something, or question, or it might save you from thinking that science is infallible and that science always gets things right all the time. Right? There are some things science doesn't explain. Second of all, self-awareness. Abel mentions this. I'm not sure if he's understands the same way I am, but when you talk about self-awareness, like the question comes up, like, if all of reality is just this chain of contingent cause and effect, right? How is it that our consciousness has any moment of that cause and effect, right? Like if I'm just in the chain and whatever happened in my within the neurons in my brain, within the chemical processes, right, within the atoms, I was passing on from moment to moment. How is it that I somehow in awareness step outside that moment and see myself as the chain of events? Right? In other words, how would a link in the chain, if it's just one link, how does it see itself as the whole chain? Again, it doesn't prove anything, but it's something that science is doesn't have a good answer for yet, at least. And then finally, does physical causation eliminate intentional causation? Right? This is an argument about like that there's kind of two kinds of causation, and the scientific materialists or rationalists who deny God's existence because God isn't necessary to explain the existence of things scientifically. They may be making a mistake here about like what causes things, right? So you have a physical causation, like for example, if someone's writing, like what causes the words on the page? Well, the pen being pushed against the page and the ball of the pen rolling and the ink coming out. That is the physical cause. But couldn't you also say like the writer's intention, right, to write what they want to write? Isn't that also the cause? Right? So just because you can explain the physical origins of something, that doesn't eliminate the cause or the will that could be acting through that. Makes sense? It's like if you're talking on your phone, you're like, well, what's causing the voice to come out of my phone? We could say, well, there's the radio waves that are being transmitted, from the satellite and then translated by the various computer elements and chips in my phone, stuff like that. Then it's coming out through the speaker. It's creating a sound waves through the motion of the speaker. That you can explain it physically, but you could also say, well, what's causing the voice to come out of my phone is my mother calling me, to because she wants me to come over for dinner. Right? So again, it's two different kinds of causes. One does not exclude the other. Just because you can explain the physical origins of the universe doesn't mean that there's not some will that's working through those physical means, or will being expressed through those physical means. Okay, just a final warning here. Like, again, we're talking about science and faith. Be careful of slipping into a God of the gaps mentality, right? Just because science doesn't have an explanation for something does not prove that God did it, right? It just says we don't know. Okay. Now, of course, someone with faith is going to see God in everything, And so it might be easier to see God in things you don't understand by science, but don't remember, just because something has a scientific explanation, that doesn't mean God's not doing it, right? It doesn't prove he's doing it either, right? But it doesn't mean he's not. So we should be remember that we can't prove or disprove God's existence using the scientific method. And we should be careful not to abandon the gift of reason for blind faith in either science or religion. Right? It leads to bad science, and it leads to maybe worse religion. Right? Remember, God's reason is God's gift to us, right? And we can use it to know Him.